Do you want your job to rob yourself of fatherhood? Do you want to die and go, man, I regret not being a dad, you know?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Life of Dad Show. Here in the Life of Dad Show, we talk with athletes, actors, entrepreneurs, CEOs, musicians, entertainers who've all made a name for themselves, but the one thing that is most important to them is being a dad. This week I'm talking with Kiefer Thompson from the band Thompson Square. Kiefer and I talk about fatherhood, we talk about his children's book that he wrote with his wife, we talk about his new career in stand-up comedy as well. A lot of great things came from this conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I do. So let's get into it. Here is my interview with Keifer Thompson from the band Thompson Square. Enjoy. Hey everybody, Eddy here for the Life of Dad Show and online. I'm very happy to have Kiefer Thompson, of course, from the band Thompson Square. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me, sir. How you doing?
I am good, man. How are you?
Doing really well. I love talking with musicians. Of course, people know you and your wife from the hit song, Are You Gonna Kiss Me or Not? You guys have a lot of great albums. Your latest one is called Masterpiece. I love the fact that the title track is talking about your son. It's a great song, great fatherhood messages. Talk about like how you came up with the song. Was it like one thing that like all of a sudden popped in your mind, or was it a culmination of things? Talk about like how you came up with that song, sir.
It was weird. The record was done. It was going to be called something else, actually. And after everything was finished, we were at our house, and I woke up about 5:30 in the morning with the title in my head, and I didn't really know what it meant. I jotted it down on my phone and tried to go back to sleep, and it just kind of kept going on and on and on, and it wouldn't leave me alone. So I finally forced myself out of bed and grabbed my guitar and hit the back porch and started just kind of thinking about the title, and I was like, well, what is my masterpiece? If I die tomorrow, what's the best thing that I've ever done in my life that I'll never be able to outdo, and I hope that I'm known for? To even come close to comparing with becoming a dad and bringing a new life into the world, and so basically I just started thinking about him as what we as humans consider masterpiece kind of things to be, and just making a comparative between my love for him and the change that he's had and the impact that he's had on me as a man and as a human, and turning me into a dad, and making comparatives with that and the things that we already consider to be masterpieces. So it was kind of easy, honestly, just
Okay.
because the emotional level of the song was so personal, and it came from such a first-person perspective from me. It was one of the easier songs that I've written, and I don't write a whole lot by myself, but this one just kind of fell out, and it seems to be one of our fan favorites.
Yeah, man, it's a Life of Dad fan favorite. I'll tell you that right now.
Thank you.
And I love hearing that story. Thanks very much for sharing that. And kind of to piggyback off of that, I love the creative process when it comes to writing a song. With that song, it kind of came easy. It's not usually the case. Talk a little about like how you and Shauna like approach a song. Your wife Shauna, because obviously you guys are in the band together. But like talk a little bit about how you guys approach that. Kind of gave a little creative process about hearing. That word came to you. You wrote it down on your iPhone and your phone, and you kind of went back to it because it kept on, saying like, "Hey, you got to work on this." But talk a little bit about like
Right.
Is there a normal creative process for you guys, or do certain things happen like you get inspired and like, all right, I'm gonna make a note and then I'll work on it later? Like, how does that work for you, sir?
Well, Sean and I write a little bit together, not a ton. For us, it's usually the role that she and I play in our collaborative writing situations are usually I'll come up with a music hook or some sort of melody, or she'll have a melody. The ideas, she's really great at having ideas and editing and kind of, hey, that stinks. Can we change this? And a lot of times she's right. That's kind of how that works. Me personally, I usually have to start, the music has to move me before anything else. So I'll have literally just dozens and dozens and dozens of titles, ideas, concepts, and most of them don't have a home yet. And then I'll get into a writing session, and we'll start talking. Someone will start playing or playing a loop or playing piano or whatever else. And the way I do it is I'll literally go, if nothing just jumps out at me emotionally, like a lot of times that's what happens. I hear something, and then I know what the title might be or the idea, or this might be a cool vocal lick that might lead to something else. I hate writing a song without the idea. And we've done it like writing in reverse. I don't enjoy doing it. I've done it a few times, but I always like to have a concept before we start writing. So I have some sort of, guitar lick or whatever else that kind of puts me in a mood. I'll go down through that list, and it kind of feels like it should be in that groove, or this is a really cool thing that would fit in that vein, and this is kind of what I was thinking when I wrote this down, and for the most part, that served me really well. It kind of comes from both ends of it, but most of the time when I'm writing, it comes from a music thing first with an idea, not necessarily a full thought-out thing, but it could even be a one-word deal, but a lot of times it's the music that starts it out.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you sharing that. And we're going to get into, your children's book, Time to Get Dressed, and also, too, like how you kind of ventured into the world of stand-up comedy, and it kind of revolves around, fatherhood and all that. Talk a little bit about, from the music side, because here at Life of Dad, I started, writing for Life of Dad and doing these podcasts. And of course, I always say, like, my daughters are my muses, or if they say something, or at the breakfast table or at the bus stop, certain things like, oh, I got to write about this, But since you became a dad, talk a little bit about, like, do you look at your career differently since you became a dad?
Absolutely. Sean and I always talk about, Cooper saved us from ourselves, and
Nice.
I think we love what we do. We've been very successful at it. We've been very fortunate and blessed to come from very extremely humble beginnings and working our way through the ranks and having hits and being able to tour every year and having a legion of fans and all this stuff. It's been a wonderful thing. A lot of pressure when you have no kids. You're trying to get to that next thing. You're always thinking about that first. The beautiful thing that happens when you become a parent is those things could become secondary.
Yeah.
So you still have to provide for your family and everything, but the difference is you're doing this job for a certain thing, and Cooper is really, he's everything,
Yeah.
So it's like if I never win this, or if I never do that, or if I never sell this many albums or whatever else, at the end of the day, it always sounds like BS because you hear people say that until you actually experience it. I'm like,
Yep.
you know what?
Yeah.
I always thought that was something that unsuccessful people said, and just to make themselves feel better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, bless her heart. She's not the cutest girl, but man, she has a really good personality. It's that kind of thing, And I was like, well, but it's true,
Yeah.
I mean, it really was a liberation from ourselves and the pressure that we put on ourselves to become even more and more and more successful. And we spend our days a lot with Cooper now, and our life has been enriched so much and so much happier as a husband and a father and as just a guy. I have a lot to write about right now. So there's a lot of emotion right now in both of us, and
Sure.
so there's a lot of like Masterpiece, and there's a couple, Love Like This was everything, it had him making a cameo in the song and stuff. And so it just kind of generalized to all this creative flow, and I was dressing Cooper one morning. I was singing it. I was putting his socks on. He was a few weeks old. I was putting his socks on. I started singing this socks one by one. Putting on your socks could be so fun. I just sang it, and Shauna goes, what is that? And I said, is that something that your parents used to sing to you? And I was like, no, I just made it up. She's like, you need to go downstairs and finish that. So I went and I do everything she says, So
Yeah.
I went downstairs and finished the song. I came back up and played it for her. She's like, I love this. And so we played it for our manager, and he was like, we should turn this into a book.
Nice.
And I was like, well, I never really, thought about that. But we found this really great illustrator that really captured what we thought kind of represented our family, and she did a great job. It's done really, really well. I mean, it's our first time we self-published the book. We didn't know what to expect, so we just, we're at a place in our life now where we're doing everything ourselves, and it's wonderful, but we had no idea how this thing would take off, and
Sure.
It's really done very well. It's sold very well, and so that kind of inspired me to go, hey, I wonder if I could do this again. So I've since written 2 other books, which came from songs, and those 2 will come out this year.
Congratulations.
And,
Nice.
So it's just been, thank you, man, and it's just been a really fun, creative place to be, from the removal of ourselves from the deal that we were in to having a kid. And, Sean and I, we're going to celebrate 20 years of marriage this year. And so there's a lot of milestones that have happened in these last couple of years. It's made life very interesting, and it's super fulfilling. And being a dad is the best thing that I could never go back to not being a dad. I mean, it's just an amazing thing.
Love it, man. I appreciate you sharing that, and especially the book. I will definitely put up links here at Life of Dad for people to order it. But it's you know, you're at that stage, you know, especially with the age of your son, where it's like there's certain things like, where'd your shoe go? Where's all these things? And like having that song, especially when my daughters were kind of like in preschool, there was that cleanup song, and like I was helping out one day at their preschool, and I heard the teacher singing that. I'm like, oh, it's great. I'm going to try it at home, and it worked because if you put something, as you know, obviously I'm preaching to the choir. You put something to music, it kind of makes things happier, and you're like, all right, yeah, I'll do this chore. I'll, you know, kind of, you know, makes the process a lot easier. So I love that. Talk a little bit about stand-up.
It really does.
Yeah, no doubt. Talk a little about stand-up comedy, sir. How's that going for you? I love the fact that you're venturing into that too.
It's such a weird thing to even hear you say that. I've been obsessed with comedy since Steve Martin came out.
Nice.
I've loved it for years. I never thought in a million years that I would ever pursue it, try it, joke around about it, write anything for it. And, you know, after we got out of our thing, you know, I was like, what do you want to do? If we don't have anyone to answer to, no one can tell us, no, you can't do that. Our agent has been blowing us up about me trying this, think I'm funny. Our manager was pretty paramount in me giving this thing a shot. It's been an incredible journey to do this. You talk about scary? I've played in front of, you know, literally I've played in front of probably a few million people in our career.
Yeah.
And there's never one stressful moment in there. I'm not anxious. I'm always pumped and excited, but never scared. The hardest thing to do when you've been successful at something else is try something else in the same kind of business, you know. So it's the entertainment business all over again. But you know, it's like singing in church. It's probably my least favorite activity because I was raised Southern Baptist. Every time I come home, Mom was like, "Hey, will you sing in the church?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've done it a couple of times," and it's just weird because you get done singing in a club or a festival and people are clapping. You do that in a Southern Baptist church, and everyone goes, "Amen." You know, I mean, there's no, you know, that's not what I'm used to. You know.
Yeah.
So doing stand-up is kind of comparative to that, you know. And the first time I did it, we went down to Huntsville, this place, and I'd never written anything, but I wrote one 8-minute bit, and people actually laughed, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's pretty intoxicating. And there was supposed to be no one there. It was supposed to be an amateur night. I get there, the place is absolutely packed, and it was the show. The comedians, they were 5, 6, 7 years, you know, into it, so they weren't novices by any means. And I'm right in the middle of them, and they're all, you know, we're talking backstage, you know, and they're like, hey, you know, how long you been doing this? And you know, 7 years, 6 years, you know. And how about you? And I said, well, this is my first day. This is my first day on the job. And they're like, oh wow, how'd you get on this gig? I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, you know, I have an agent and. Because I didn't really, cause we didn't tell them who I was or what band I was in or what our career was or anything, you know. We haven't really brought that out into the world really that I'm doing it. So I'd like to get my crap together a little bit more before we announce to the world. But at this point, it's just starting to get out. Just do a few shows and see how it goes. Just see if I like it first of all. If I don't like it, I'm not gonna mess with it. If I don't think I can be really good at it, I don't want to mess with it. But I enjoyed the laughter, I enjoyed the applause, and I enjoyed the process of you know, writing jokes. And so I did 9 shows at Zany's in December. It got better and better every time. And I was like, you know, are you going to change it up tonight? I was like, well, I've only written 2 things, so no, we're going to do the same thing. And so you know, I'm a songwriter, so that seemed really natural to me to write funny songs. And so I've been writing funny songs. That's something I can do on my own, so I sit in my studio at home, and I'm dedicating these next 2 months to just writing comedy and those songs, and so it's just, you know, writing funny songs, coming up with these crazy stories. So I have a ridiculously crazy family background and stuff, and so it's one of those things where I had a blast doing it, and I think my calendar just started dinging a while ago, and I think I booked like 7 more comedy shows.
Nice.
You know, I'm not changing gears, I'm changing careers. I'm just exploring another part of me that a lot of people saw some potential in, and I didn't really even see it. And I love it. It's so much fun. And it's weird, you know, always being on stage with my wife, and now I look over here and I'm doing this by myself. You know, I'm doing it on my own. I don't have anybody to fall back on or any of that, you know. So it's kind of odd and scary in that regard. But I've had a lot of fun doing it. I hooked up and collaborated with a great comic called Dusty Schley yesterday, and we sat down in the coffee shop and wrote a joke for 4 hours. And
nice.
And John Reap has been great. I've become really good friends with him, and I did a small little tour at Zanies with him. And it's just, it's really cool, man, because when I moved to town in Nashville for the first time, I was the new guy in town. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was scared to death, but I knew I wanted to give it a shot. And so I was making all these friends with these like-minded people who were musicians and hungry and everything else, and I made some of my lifelong friends during that time. It's almost like I get to relive that again,
Yeah.
I get to relive that without the fear of being able to afford to go out and eat. I've got a really good job, so it's a little bit different in that regard. It's not a starving artist thing, but a part of me is still a starving artist, and I think that's what's kept me motivated and just as driven now as I've ever been, even in the music side, to prove a point, to get what I want out in the world, and to service our fans and give them the time and dedication to my craft that they deserve, because they give us so much back. Being backstage in these small rooms of 100, 200 people maybe that show up, and you go out and you do 8 minutes. It seems like an eternity. You're the new guy, and you're the novice, and you're the runt, and you don't know what you're doing, and you're scraping and trying to be funny. It's a wonderful feeling, man. That fear of failing is a tremendous feeling. And I know that sounds odd to say, but it's just a really cool thing to be able to relive what it felt like when I first moved to town. Other alternate entertainment venues that I'm trying to go down, and we're going to tour this hopefully this year around all of our other tour dates and see where it goes, man. It's an exciting time. We're just going to see kind of where the chips fall and where everything kind of falls out. It'd be great.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, because I think, like you said, you're in the entertainment business, but it's two different ball games. Life of Dad would like to get everybody's take on fatherhood. Talk about when you found out you're going to be a dad. What was kind of going through your mind?
So we didn't really want to have kids, and then at one point, I was like, I self-analyzed a lot, and try to keep myself in check. And I said, well, I asked myself, I said, do you want this business or the dream and the drive and everything else? Do you want your job to rob yourself of fatherhood? Do you want to die and go, man, I regret not being a dad, And the scariest thing about asking yourself those questions, you can't really lie to yourself, And so I asked myself that question. I was like, it was emphatic. I was like, absolutely not. I want to know how that feels. So if I want to know how that feels, the time is now to do it. So I went to Sean and asked her. I said, "Hey, you cool with this?" And she's like, "I can't believe you really want to do this." And I say, "I really do, because I know for a fact that I want to be able to know what that feels like, and I want to raise a kid and be a family and not just be so one-dimensional in our life, which was just all about music, Which that obviously that's a very important part of our life, and it always will be. It gave us the life that we have now, but there's more. There's more to life than work, and she was cool with it, and we went right to work. And a few months later, it was a done deal, And I knew for a fact that is the most important thing in my life, and so that was an amazing experience for me and a great feeling, and I don't know, man. It's just it's been the greatest thing. I don't want him to go to school. I just want him to hang. I don't want to hang out with him at his home all day and play, and he's such a sweet kid, and he's so smart and funny, and he's just all great things, and so being a dad is just I'm so grateful that we decided to go ahead and have kids.
Love it, man. And one of the things that as well as any dad knows, is you're going to lead by example, by your actions and not your words. I mean, you can say something to your blue in the face, but if they don't see you do it, then if you don't walk the walk while you're talking the talk, they're going to like follow you. But I think one of the things I think that you guys, both you and your wife, show is that go out there, find what your passion is, and try and fulfill your dreams through your profession. Obviously, you guys do that through music, and then you guys done that through finding another passion with writing a story, and then now for stand-up comedy. So you're showing him. When they ask like, "Oh, what does your daddy do?" He was like, "Well, he does this, this, and this," and it's like, "Wow, he does a lot." So it's like you're always trying something. So that's a great value. What are some of the other core values you're going to look to instill into him as he's grown up?
I think that the major thing is just having a religious base. There's a center to that in my life. I was raised Southern Baptist, and I've been a Christian since I was 14, and that's always been the moral center for me. And no matter how far I veered from that, or how far I drove my parents crazy or rebelled or whatever else, the book says, you raise your kids to be godlike, they'll always return to it, and I know for probably a while, my parents didn't think that was going to happen, because I was a bit of a rebel, but it always came back to that. It always came back to that. And I know that God's blessed me in my personal life and my wife as well. And it is with Cooper, and so we're teaching him the importance of that, teaching him the importance of prayer. He prays at his meals on his own. I mean, he's picked this stuff up, and it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to see this little kid that, there has to be, in my opinion, a moral compass to a child's life. I'm a very strong believer in God and everything that it stands for. And even if you don't believe in God, the principles that Christianity teaches, just the principles that stand alone, the golden rule, situations like that, those are just great things to have in your arsenal to be a good human being. Probably the most important thing that we are going to instill in him is just the importance of that. My parents did a great job. They taught Sunday school, and they were an amazing example to me. And that my dad was a very hard worker. That was a great example to me. They had a loving relationship. They've been married 57 years now.
Oh, nice.
That's a great example to me.
Yeah.
They've been great parents, and now they're up in years, and things are getting difficult for them and stuff. So the tables and the roles are turning a little bit. But what they instilled in me from a ethics, moral standpoint, from having a Christian base, and just to being good people, hardworking people, to treat others like you want to be treated, and all those types of things, man, those are some of the most important things that I value in my personal life that I am and plan on continuing to instill in my son Cooper.
Love it. Thanks so much for sharing that, Kiefer. One more question before we get into the Life of Dad Quick 5. Kind of, in the thick of it with his age and all that stuff. So for dads that they're, just finding out they're going to be a dad and they're getting ready for this awesome role of fatherhood, what is like the one big piece of advice you'd offer to them?
I think the one big piece is don't listen to anybody.
Nice.
Don't read any of the stupid books that tell you how to raise a kid, because it's your kid, it's your life, and every one of them is individually different. When you bring that kid home, it's like we put him in the car and home. Motley Crue's Home Sweet Home started playing on the radio, and I was like, here we go, and it's just like your goal is to keep this thing alive. And I think the biggest thing is really help your wife out in the beginning, because she's going to be just out of it. Shauna had a C-section, so she was really out of it for a little bit, so all of the diapers and all that stuff, it was all on me. And you just let go of all that macho crap that we've all been taught, like, the women change diapers and all that stuff. Now, you want to be a part of that, man. That's part of the bonding process with your kid.
Yeah.
And it just let loose of all that stuff. Just be a great dad. There's nothing to be embarrassed about, because this kid doesn't know, and he's going to appreciate everything you do for him, and just really help out your spouse, because she's going to be in the very beginning, and you're a team, man. Just really get close together, because you're in the game now, and both of you have to work together to make this thing work, and it's not one-sided, and pull your weight. And I know you asked for one thing, and there's a lot of things to do, but I think the most important thing is just take care of each other as parents and share in the process of raising this kid, especially in the beginning, because it's tough, man.
Yeah.
Sleep deprivation is a real thing. I mean, it will make you crazy.
No doubt. And and like, I think it's a perfect answer. You have a good answer right there, because you just kind of like, be there for the child and also be there for your spouse. I think it's I 100% agree with you. Now I got the Life of Dad Quick 5. Favorite family movie right now in the household is what?
Oh, man, that would be Coco.
Okay, nice. And this might kind of bleed into the next question. Favorite song? Is it a song from the soundtrack, or is there a different song that you guys like to sing and dance together as a family? Or it could be the Time to Get Dressed song too, right?
Well, he sings Time to Get Dressed all the time, but his favorite song is Trans Am, which is one of our songs. He sings it constantly. And he plays the drums with it and hums all the guitar parts and stuff. He's really enamored with that song. And then he asked for his song, which he knows Masterpiece is, and he's singing that at the top of his lungs at 2.5. So it's really, really cute.
Oh, man, that is fantastic. I love that, man. Thanks so much for sharing that. Yeah, that's...
yeah, well, he heard these songs that we were making the record, so we listened to them a lot, to make sure that we did want them on the record, and if they were good enough, and so he just really loves that song, too. It's funny that he loved the song before he knew it was about him, and now he realizes who it's about. He's like, play my song. And so pretty awesome, man. Pretty awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful. Describe the perfect family vacation. Where would it be?
Oh, wow. The perfect family vacation for us would probably be just us. Like we went to Hawaii. He was pretty young. We went there to Hawaii and rented a house for a week, and we had some gigs over there. It was a wonderful time, because we were completely away from everything we knew. we had a swimming pool and the beach and everything else there. It was just, Shauna loves the beach. You know, my dream vacation is mountains and snow, but it was awesome, man. Cooper loves the beach and plays in the sand, and it's just a very Norman Rockwell type of image, you know. But yeah, that was probably the best one we've had so far.
That's great. You kind of mentioned when we're talking about stand-up comedy, you're talking about like Steve Martin and all that. So for you, kind of going back to, with your music career, talk about like the first album you purchased. Was it like, did it influence you on where you were going in your professional world, Sarah?
I think the first album I bought was Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Okay.
It was weird because I was into all kinds of music early on, and my parents loved Elvis. I loved Elvis. They were into Roger Miller and all the classic old country stylings, and which I was enamored with. But really, the album that I bought that changed my life was Merle Haggard's Big City.
Okay.
And I bought it on cassette. And I remember listening to these songs going, and the words just reached out, just reached right into my soul. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to write songs like this. And that album really kind of put me on a trajectory where I am today. And he's my all-time favorite artist. And then Springsteen is really close. When Haggard died, it was strangely emotional for me. Like I had this strange connection with his music, and I've never felt that way, even with some of my family members when they passed.
Yeah,
it was very hard on me, and I think it's just because it was such a huge influence in my life.
Definitely, man. I can definitely appreciate that. And lastly, is there a place that's on you and your wife's bucket list that you'd love to perform at, or if you've been lucky enough to perform all the places, is there a place that you love performing at the best, like a venue wise? Like this is awesome.
Well, I think Madison Square is always at the top of everyone's deal. There's something about just having your name on that marquee, and that's not an easy task, and played a lot of places that we love to play, but yeah, we still have a lot of places that we'd like to play, and Madison's one of them. I'm kind of at a loss right now.
Yeah.
So, probably Madison Square Garden would be the big one on our bucket list.
Nice, man. People, make sure you follow Kiefer and his wife Shauna on Twitter at Thompson Square, and go to the website thompsonsquare.com for more info on the band and where you can pick up the awesome book, the children's book that I think everybody in your household will be singing. It's called Time to Get Dressed. Thanks so much for taking the time. Continued success with everything you got going on in the future, sir.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, no doubt. You take care.
All right, man. Take care.
Yep.
Thanks so much for listening to the Life of Dad show. You know where to find us, lifeofdad.com, and on Twitter and Facebook.
Noise you